The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, Lord.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came to be through him, and without him nothing came to be. What came to be through him was life, and this life was the light of the human race. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. A man named John was sent from God. He came for testimony, to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He was not the light, but came to testify to the light. The true light, which enlightens everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world came to be through him, but the world did not know him. He came to what was his own, but his own people did not accept him. But to those who did accept him, he gave power to become children of God, to those who believe in his name, who were born not by natural generation, nor by human choice, nor by a man's decision, but of God. And the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us, and we saw his glory, the glory as of the Father's only Son, full of grace and truth. John testified to him and cried out, saying, "This was he of whom I said, 'The one who is coming after me ranks ahead of me, because he existed before me.' From his fullness we have all received grace in place of grace. Because while the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God. The only Son, God, who is at the Father's side, has revealed him." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
In traditional religious art, Jesus is often portrayed with a halo of light around his head. In some depictions of the infant Jesus lying in the manger, a glow of light surrounds Jesus and lights up the darkness in the faces of shepherds and animals and the humans around him. Sometimes he's also depicted with a beam of light coming down from heaven upon him. You don't have to agree with me, but I don't think that many people who actually saw Jesus in the flesh saw a halo around Jesus. But I don't think that religious art is being dishonest about Jesus. It is simply trying to depict in visual images something that was not really a matter of physical appearance, but a quality which was quite apparent to the spiritual senses. In the reading from the opening chapter of the letter to the Hebrews, the author extols the greatness of Jesus as Son of God, heir of all things, through whom God created the universe, who is the refulgence of God's glory. Refulgence is not a word that I use with any frequency. Refulgence is a brilliant radiance, like the glow that surrounds Jesus as portrayed in much visual art. Maybe Christmas is calling us to open our perception to the brilliant radiance of God's love and presence in the world. The first century was a dark time for Jewish people. struggling to maintain their identity, their way of life, and their practice of religion under the domination of the Roman Empire. The tensions between Jews and Jewish followers of Christ, trying to live their devotion to God in this difficult context, eventually drove Jews and Christians apart. Our New Testament readings for Christmas Day come out of this context. Many who saw Jesus walk this earth saw just a man. Others saw a wonder worker whom they hoped might work a miracle for them or someone close to them. Some regarded Jesus as leader of a movement which was a threat to the established leadership of the temple. Those who believed in Jesus and followed him, who witnessed the resurrection and preached the good news, came to understand Jesus as the Son begotten by God the Father, the Word through whom creation came to be, the Word of God become flesh. And Christ brings power for us to become children of God. Do we see one another as children of God? Do we see any of that refulgence, that brilliant radiance in one another? In our current times, perhaps we tend to look on the dark side of other people. Perhaps I focus on how others are different from me and fear that difference could be a threat to me. Or another person becomes merely a body we have to wait behind in line, or who might grab the last convenient parking space. We see the darkness of entrenched ideologies that do not admit light from another quarter that might bring us to fuller truth. We hear of political groups and nations arming themselves with weapons for war. Maybe I convince myself that I am dwelling in the light in a solo effort to keep the darkness at bay. Maybe one dark incident in my life makes it impossible for me to trust that the light will ever return again. During Christmas, we decorate our homes and yards with lights to brighten up the long, dark nights and to remind ourselves of the light that Christ brought to the world and still brings today. Can Christmas also help us to perceive the light of the image and likeness of God in other people, or even in myself? Can Christmas help us to recover our ability to see the brilliant radiance of God in other people who have become or could be daughters and sons of God, who may be Christ in our midst? Can the light of Christmas help me to see that there may be an alternative way to the insanity of an addiction or a fixation? Can the light of Christmas guide me to find someone trustworthy who can help me? May Christmas bring out the light within us, to encourage us when we suffer from the sins of others or our own sins, to see the goodness that is sometimes obscured by flaws in others and ourselves, and to seek out a larger sense of truth.